Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 19th. It's March. It's 2020. And for those people that can't seem to get this through their head, I'm going to show you a few things, and you're going to hear a few things from doctors and such. I'm going to show you a couple of the emails that I've got coming through. This virus isn't the problem. The virus is what they used to stop the world. And now the National Guard is being assembled and moved in places all over the place. But listen to a few things real quick, will ya? And then share this video. Burn this video, post it on your channel, put it wherever. Or don't. Don't do anything. Sit around like the rest of America right now and wait for the New World Order guys to slowly move their pieces into place and then come and do whatever they want to you and everyone you've ever known and loved and cared about. Okay? Your call. Check this out. This is from a doctor. She sent this to me from Biloxi, Mississippi. This is from the Gulf Coast Veterans Healthcare System's tip of the week. Blah, 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 blah. While the Center for Disease Control still considers COVID-19 to be a low threat to the general American public, CDC considers it a low threat because it's a cold. It's a mild cold. COVID-19 was preceded, or there were other COVIDs before it, 18, 17, 16, 15, which is why it's 19. It's a cold and it's a flu. And separating people, installing curfews in Georgia, because that's on right now, 10 to 6 a.m., 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. curfew, because that's the time that the virus spreads the most. No, because this is happening, okay? Understand this. You see these MRAPs made by Oshkosh? Yeah, this was today. This is in Illinois, okay? You catching on? The bullshit make-believe virus is a cold. They used words to scare the entire world, do a complete and total burglary of... This was 9/11 on steroids, and they didn't have to fire a shot, but they're going to, okay? Let's continue. A virus, Richie, you have to wear a mask because everybody can get this virus. Well, let's listen to a couple of doctors, shall we? This is Dr. Andy Kaufman. He is scheduled to go on the Alex Jones show, and then he was going to come on with me. And I've actually asked him not to go on the Alex Jones show because Alex Jones is a piece of shit scumbag, and Alex Jones, being the plant that he is, helped steer so many people that would have woken up and stood up. He's helped steer them over the years into the wrong direction. So Dr. Kaufman might still be on, but it doesn't really matter because here's what he has to say. He is an MD. This is from the Crow 777 show. Listen to this.
Virus ever been shown to cause disease in any human being?
No, it has not.
Wow, that's quite a thing.
It took me by quite a surprise when I first looked into this, to be honest with you. It goes against, everything that I've been taught, believed, thought was true for, almost all my life.
It's kind of like when you're a kid and they tell you Batman's real, and then some point you grow up to the point where you realize he's not, and you're all, holy smokes, I can't believe Batman's not real. No, I'm actually being facetious when I shouldn't be, probably.
Well, you're right, but I was more scared.
So I didn't just take his word for it. I started doing a little bit of research myself and discovered that viruses indeed don't travel like they tell us, airborne from person to person. It doesn't work like that. Almost all the people that get sick in the United States are also almost all the sheeple that get their vaccines. The flu is the vaccine. I haven't been sick in years. I don't go to the doctor. I don't get vaccines. Do you see what I'm saying? But listen to this. This was a radio call-in show with a Canadian doctor who teaches at a college. Listen to what he had to say and listen to what they did to him when he tried to explain it.
Hi, Dr. Kettner. Welcome to Checkup.
Thank you.
You teach at the University of Manitoba. You're a former chief medical officer, I understand.
Yes.
So what do you think about how we're coping right now?
Well, I don't know what to think, frankly, but I'll tell you what I do think. First, I want to say that in 30 years of public health medicine, I have never seen anything like this, anything anywhere near like this. And I'm not talking about the pandemic, because I've seen 30 of them, one every year. It's called influenza and other respiratory illness viruses that we don't always know what they are. But I've never seen this reaction, and I'm trying to understand why. And I have to say, I really feel for my colleagues that are in public health practice. It's easy for me to sit in the armchair of my office and look at this and observe it and be critical or have ideas. But I really feel for them for three reasons. One is that the data they're getting is incomplete to really make sense of the size of the threat. We're getting very crude numbers of cases and deaths, very little information about testing rates, contagious analysis, severity rates, who's being hospitalized, who is in intensive care, who is dying, what are the definitions to decide if someone died of the coronavirus or just died with the coronavirus. There's so much important data that is very hard to get to guide the decision about how serious the threat is this. The other part is that we actually do not have that much good evidence for these social distancing methods. There was just a couple of reviews in the CDC Emerging Infectious Diseases Journal, which showed that although some of them might work, we don't really know to what degree, and the evidence is pretty weak. So the third problem is the pressure that is being put on our public health doctors and our public health leaders. Pressure is coming from various places. The first place it came from was the Director General of the World Health Organization, when he said this is a grave threat and public health enemy number one. I've never heard Director General of the WHO use terms like that. Then at the announcement of the pandemic, he said he's doing it because of a grave, alarming, quick spread of the disease and an alarming amount of inaction around the world. That puts a huge pressure on public health doctors and leaders and advisors, and a huge pressure on governments. And then you get this, what seems like a cascade of decision-making that really puts pressure on countries and governments, provincial, states, to sort of keep up with this action that was, that Dr. Hoffman said that we're trying to avoid or should avoid, which is an overreaction. I don't know what's an appropriate reaction, but I do know that I'm having trouble figuring this out.
And so I'm sure that your medical colleagues across the country are probably nodding their heads when they say that they don't have enough data, that they lack data. I expect that health professionals around the world wish they had more data, and whether it's the testing rates or the severity rates, all that kind of thing. So probably a valid concern. But if I could ask one, you mentioned that you're not confident in terms of some of the literature with regard to social distancing and its effectiveness. If I could throw that to Dr. Sinha and see what he has to say.
Well, I think this is the challenge, right? Is that right now we're doing research around COVID, for example, on the fly. We're trying to get what data we can, and we're trying to understand these things. But one of the challenges I think that our college has mentioned was that right now, every year we see things like the influenza, the flu season come through, and right now that goes until May, and many of us are absolutely terrified about COVID, yet we are not seeing the rates of vaccination that we ought to see in Canada against known threats like influenza, pneumonia, where the Public Health Agency of Canada wants us to have at least 80% of people vaccinated, yet we're tens of percents below that, at least for pneumonia, and slightly less than that for influenza. So there are things that we can be doing that we haven't been doing, and I think this is part of the problem. Without good data, it's hard for us to make those decisions, and that's why more research is needed quickly. But at the same time, we need to start acting quickly when we don't actually have the right data to act. Dr.
Kettner, I understand that there's probably quite a bit of literature about studying this, but what's the basis of your concern then? If the social distancing is debatable in your mind, what do you worry about that?
Well, I worry about the consequences of this social distancing. I worry about people who are losing their jobs. I worry about interruptions with the health care system itself. There's many doctors in quarantine right now in Manitoba because they've returned from countries, other countries. I worry about the message to the public about the fear of coming in contact with people, being in the same space as people, shaking their hands, having meetings with people. I worry about many, many consequences related to that. And if you look at the data for what we are actually dealing with, I want to give this example. In Hubei, the province of Hubei, where there's been the most number of cases and deaths by far, the actual rate of cases reported is 1 per 1,000 people. And the actual rate of deaths reported is 1 per 20,000 people. So maybe that would help people put things in perspective as to the actual rates and risk of this condition, because it's a lot lower in every other part of the world, including Italy and certainly Canada and the United States.
Joel, I'm going to jump in. Thanks very much.
So there's two doctors' opinions. One is explaining to you that viruses don't actually spread the way they tell us they do. Two, putting a state like Georgia, the great state of Georgia, where I did my basic training, putting them under a curfew from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. makes absolutely no sense whatsoever at all. They're slowly putting the pieces in place. The National Guard is already activated in Massachusetts. The National Guard is being activated. Well, it's going to be activated everywhere, but let me double check. Here's another video of MRAPs moving through Illinois today. They're coming to every state. The elites are not done with us yet. I keep hitting the wrong button, so I have to make this whole video all over again. So sorry that this picture's so small. They've parked a ship on the West Coast and the East Coast. That's not for dramatic effect. They're there for a reason. They're literally flooding the Mideast right now. They have the Midwest. I've talked to people that said they haven't seen rain like this ever. It's pouring in the Midwest, and the West Coast is starting to shake. They control the weather. That's a fact. Don't believe it. Who cares? It doesn't even matter at this point. They can create earthquakes. Be ready. And when I'm saying be ready spiritually. Let go of this material world if you have to. Do not live under this new world order, because it is coming. They used words to shut down the world. Americans are just, it's unbelievable the amount of pussies in this country that ran in the house over a disease that the doctor just pointed out kills 1 in 20,000 in the most affected areas. This disease has killed less than 6,000 people. I mean, that's me being generous with the numbers. In 4 months, Bill Gates and his pals had an Event 201, October 17th, 2019, 5 months ago in New York, practicing for this, and now it's live. Any more questions, people? Seriously? It's time. Figure out what you're going to do, or do absolutely nothing. That's what everyone else is doing and waiting for Trump to tell them what to do next. I'm out.